All right, so I'm only going to go through one of the questions for your review problem, but if you need help with any of the other questions, just refer back to this because it's the same steps, just different numbers. All right, I'll show you a few different things. You can skip around this video as you need to. All right, but for A, you're going to draw a scatter plot. All right, so here we will have our X values and our Y values. So we are going to be at 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then here I'm going to start at 65 and then count up to 95 or 105. So 65, 75, 85, 95, 105. All right, so you can skip around. All your tick marks don't necessarily have to be the same for your Y. The first one could be a big jump to get to where your numbers are at, and then from there, you do need to be consistent. So here we are just going to go ahead and plot these points. All right, so when our X is at 10, our Y value is at 70. When our X is at 10, our Y value was at 70. So this tells us the number of absences a student has and their final grade. So this student had 10 absences and they got a 70 as their final grade. 12 absences and 65. 2 absences, 96. 0, 94, 8, 75, and 5 and 82. All right, so now we're just plotting these. We're plotting them as ordered pairs. 12 and 65. So here's our 12 and 65. 2 and 96, so it's slightly above the 95. 0 and 94. 8 and 75. And 5 and 82. Right, so this is all you need to do for A. Simply just plotting your scatter plot. You do not draw a line connecting these. You do not do anything like that. This is your answer for A. All right, I'm going to erase this though because I'm going to do everything on this one page without having to scroll up or down. So I'm going to erase this. So if you need to, pause the video and make sure you draw this and write this down. All right, now to compute for B, to compute the correlation coefficient, we need to go ahead and use our calculators. You will go to Stat, Edit, and then you will put your list 1 values, you will put your X, and then your list 2 values, you will put your Y's. All right, so then you will get 10, 12, 2, 0, 8, and 5. And we have 70, 65, 96, 94, 75, and 82. All right, then you'll go back to Stat. So now we're going to start by over here. So we're going to go pick up over here. So you go back to Stat. And then you will scroll right to Calculate. So CALC. You will then go down to Linear Regression, AX plus B, and then you will make sure that your X list is your list 1, because that's where we put our X values. Your Y list will be our list 2, because that's where we put our Y values. And then you'll go down to Calculate, and it will give you your answer. All right, so then our answer for this is going to be our correlation coefficient, which is our R value. So you see it says R is equal to negative 0.981. I want you to round to the 3rd decimal place. All right, so that will then be your answer for your letter B. So this is our correlation coefficient. And remember, the closer it is to positive 1 or the closer it is to negative 1, that means more of a linear relationship that it has, which then means that our Y is a result of our X values, meaning that they do affect each other. All right, there is a correlation between them. All right, so that is our answer for B. So let me erase all this. All right, so now we have to do C. All right, so now we're testing the significance of that correlation. So we're saying, because this is just a sample, we picked just 6 kids randomly, and maybe these 6 kids happen to have a correlation, but maybe in actuality, there's no correlation between the number of absences that you have and your final grade. I'm sure at the end of this year, we can look at some of the kids who have just been missing the last 2 weeks, pretty much in its entirety, and we can see if their grades are different than the people who are here every single day. All right, so we can actually test this ourselves once you guys are finished your final exam. All right, but here we need to see, is this by chance that these are forming that they're correlating, or is it not? So what we do is we take our R value and we take the absolute value of it. So in this case, the absolute value of 0.981 is just positive 0.981. All right, and then from there, we have to calculate our score using our table. And the way that we calculate our score using our table is we count the number of x's that we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we do the number of x's that we have minus 2. So 6 minus 2 is equal to 4. And then we look and see, well, what is our alpha? Right? What is our confidence interval? So here it tells me our alpha is 0.05. So on the chart I gave you, you have n, or degrees of freedom, which is our n minus 2. And we are looking for when our alpha is equal to 0.05. If I tell you 0.01, you would look there. So now we're at 4, and we are going to find where 4 and where our alpha join. And whatever value is there is a value that we're going to use. And the value that is there is 0.811. So we're comparing this to our R, the absolute value of our R. And this is greater. So when our R is greater than, I'm just going to write the score, the absolute value of our R is greater than our score, degrees of freedom score I'll put, or critical value. Right? When the absolute value of our R is greater than the critical value, then we say there is a significant relationship. If the absolute value of our R is less than our critical value, so I'm just going to put CV, then there is not a significant relationship. All right, so that's what we're testing for when we do this. And since our R is greater than, that means there is a significant relationship. All right, so what you'll have to show me in your test is you'll have to show me this and this for your part C. All right, now let's move on to D. All right, so we just said that C was a significant relationship. All right, now for D, we need to determine the regression line equation, and that's, you get that from where you did your B. So you're going to do the exact same steps from B, and we have our linear regression of AX plus B. So when we got that answer, it not only gave us what our R was equal to, negative 0.981, but it also gave us what an A was equal to, in this case, negative 2.668, and it gave us what a B was equal to at 96.784. All right, so then our linear regression is saying that our equation is y is equal to ax plus b. So then our equation would be y is equal to ax, so our a is negative 2.668 times x plus our b, which is positive 96.784. All right, so that would then be our answer for our regression line equation. I am going to erase this now, so pause it if you need to take any notes on this. All right, now for E, we're using this equation to then make a prediction. All right, so we're saying predict our y value for the specific value of x. Now this doesn't have it, but on your worksheet I said for 6 absences, so we want to see, well, what is the grade that we can expect someone to get when they have 6 absences? And absences were our x value. So we just need to plug in 6 in for our x into our equation. So it becomes y is equal to negative 2.668 times 6 plus 96.784. All right, so then our predicted value would be equal to 80.776, or you can say is equal to roughly 80.8. All right, so that is a score that we could expect somebody who is missing school 6 times to get. All right, now this last part, the standard error. This is the one that had a lot of work. I will show you both ways you can do this. For those of you, I have the list of names, so for those of you who brought in your calculator, you can use the notes, but just make sure your notes do not have anything to do with answering A or B. You can write down the notes for B as far as the steps in the calculator. That's it. That's all your notes are, is the steps in the calculator. If you did not bring your calculator that day, you will not be getting notes. Even if you try to bring them in, I will take them from you. You will not be getting notes. All right, only those of you who brought in your calculator the day that you were supposed to, which I have all your names written down, you will be able to use the calculator. All right, so now, in order to do this part, you must complete steps B and D, meaning you must have plugged it into your calculator and you must have used your linear regression so your calculator has an equation already at hand. All right, then your next step is you will then go to y is equal to, and you will erase any equations. Right? And I'll explain later on why you will do that, but anything that's in there you will just erase and you will clear it out. All right, then what you will do is you will then press the vars button. And then you will scroll down. And then you will press statistics. All right, it is number 5. Then you will scroll right. To EQ, that's equations. And your very first option is regression equation. That is what we solved for here. So when you press that, it will put the equation into your y is equal to. So it'll give you this into your y is equal to, but all of the decimal values. It won't round. All right, so that is the first part. So let me just draw a line here. That's our first part. That's getting our equation into our calculator. All right, our next part I will put here. I'll put part 2. We need to fill out table. So we will then go back to stat, edit, and now we are going to fill in L3, L4, and L5. All right, so for L3, and if anything is in these, clear them. Don't delete, but clear. So go highlight the list itself and press the clear button, and it'll erase everything. All right, so then our first step is we will highlight L3. And then, so we go up to where our L3 will be covered with a black cursor. Right, then we will press the vars button again. And now this time we will scroll right to our Y vars. And then we are going to click 1 for functions. And then from here, you see it gives you a list of all of your Y's, Y1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's why at this step, I told you to erase anything that's in your Y equations, because if you leave another one in there and you click the wrong one by mistake, your calculator will give you values when you do this step, and you might not realize that they're wrong. So by clearing everything and making it Y1, then you know our functions, we are going to select Y1, because that's the only place that we put any of our equations in. So now what we will see is at the bottom of your calculator, it will say L3 is equal to Y1, and it will have your cursor flashing next to it. What you must input is parentheses and list 1, or wherever you put your X values in this case. Because what you're telling your calculator to do is to substitute all of our values that we have in list 1 into our equation. And when you press enter, it'll fill in your chart for you, fill in your table. All right, that's our next step. The next part that we do is we need to fill in our L4. So we will scroll to L4 and highlight, just like we did with our L3. So make sure our cursor is on L4 itself. So at the bottom, we will have L4 is equal to. All right, in this case, we need to do L2 minus L3. L2 is our real values, and our L3 is our predicted values. So we're seeing how far off are our predictions from the real values. And this is called our residual. All right, so we press L2 minus L3, and then we press enter. And it will calculate our table for us. Then our next step is we will then go to L5. Same thing, you highlight L5. So our cursor is on L5 itself. Here, at the bottom now, you will have L5 is equal to. And what you will type here is you will type in your list 4 and you will square it, because this is very similar to what we're doing with our standard deviation, or what we did with our standard deviation. And if you recall, our standard deviation, we found our average. And then we did how far each of our actual values were from our average. So we did our values minus our average. And then we squared it. It's what we're doing here. So it's essentially the same thing. You press enter, and it fills in that chart for you. All right, now when we do our standard deviation, we add all these up. So that's what we need to do now. So now you will do second mode, or you are going to quit and go back to your home screen. And then from here, you will press, you want to go to your list. Your list is your blue button. So it's written in blue above your stat button. So if it's in blue above stat, we will have to press second stat in order for us to get to our list. And it will give us 3 options: names, OPS, and math. You will scroll right to math. Right? And we want to add up all of our list 5. We want to sum all these up. So that means we will go down and we will select 5, our sum. So now this is what you will see on your calculator. It will say sum and parentheses. And what we need to fill in is list 5, because we want to add up all of our list 5s. So you would press second 5 to get your list 5, close your parentheses, and it will give you 30.815. Right, now we need to do our n minus 2 again. All right, we had 6 x values, so 6 minus 2, and that is equal to 4. So you divide this by 4, or by your n minus 2. So in this case, when we divide it by 4, it'll give me 7.704. And then our last step is you take the square root. So take the square root of your answer, and it will give you 2.776. Right? And that is the estimate of your standard error. Right? So I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to erase all this. So let me pause it real quick. All right, so our standard error was 2.776, and that was our answer for F. For those of you who are not allowed to have notes, what I would maybe suggest that you do is you're going to follow this chart, and I'll write this on the board. This is all I'll give you. So you have X, you have Y, you have your Y parentheses, or apostrophe, you have your Y minus your Y, and then you will have your Y minus your Y squared. Right? So then you will just fill this in. All of our X values, 10, 12, 2, 0, 8, and 5. All of our Y values, 70, 65, 96, 94, 75, and 82.
30 seconds remaining.
I'm just going to pause this real quick so you don't have to hear the bell ringing. All right, and then what you would have to do is you would have to plug in each of these X values into your
30
equation.
30 seconds remaining.
Right, so you would plug your X value into your Y. So then you would do negative 2.668 times 10 plus 96.784. And that will give you a score of 70.104. Then you will do your Y minus your Y apostrophe. So it'll be 70 minus your answer. So negative 0.104. And then you square it. And that will give you 0.018. And then you would do this .0108, and then you would do this for all of them. And then you will add up all of your Y minus Y apostrophe squared. So it'll be the square root of Y minus Y apostrophe squared. So the adding of it. Oops, let me rewrite this. So it'll be the square root of the sum of your Y minus Y apostrophe squared divided by your n minus 2. So it's still not hard for you to do this. It just will take you a little bit longer, but the steps are easy. So you will not get a calculator or notes for the calculator. You can use this if you'd like instead. All right, but that is all I'm doing for this video.